You are so weak. You can never stand against me. Boom. We're jumping right into the action today with the classic arrogant taunt of a bully. You know the type, right? Someone who mistakenly believes that physical size is the absolute only metric of power. Well, as you'll see, that's a dangerous assumption that's about to be spectacularly dismantled. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to mathematically and psychologically deconstruct a classic woodland fable. And yes, I mean a literal fable with animals, to prove that true power actually comes from leverage, not just brute force. If you've ever felt outmatched or overpowered, this breakdown is going to fundamentally change how you view conflict and strategy. Okay, section 1, the anatomy of leverage. Let's dive right in by looking at our key players. But we're not just looking at them as cute animals in a forest. We need to see them as distinct forms of capital operating within a strategic ecosystem. We've got a massive asymmetry of resources here. The black cat, he has incredibly high physical capital, just massive and muscular, but absolutely zero social capital. He's totally isolated himself by being a bully. Meanwhile, the tiny white rat and the orange-white fox completely make up for their lack of physical dominance with intense, unbreakable loyalty and some seriously high-level intellect. When we map all these attributes out, a really crucial point emerges. The cat's greatest strategic vulnerability, it isn't physical at all. It's blind pride. It's this massive psychological flaw that comes from just totally relying on muscle. And that's exactly the flaw that our highly intellectual fox is going to spot and systematically exploit. Moving right along to section 2, the arrogance of muscle. You know, uncalibrated brute force routinely mistakes its physical dominance for absolute invulnerability. When the massive cat mercilessly bullies the tiny rat, the sheer difference in scale is terrifying. The cat just assumes that because he casts a huge shadow, he's basically untouchable. But right in the middle of this intimidation, we see the deployment of what I like to call the silent asset. The rat's high social capital pays off immediately because the loyal fox steps right in to provide emotional support. Think about this in terms of your own life, maybe office politics or everyday negotiations. True strength really relies on the allies who stick by your side when you feel the absolute smallest. And the cat? He completely missed this variable. So, with that loyalty acting as a catalyst, the fox steps up and issues a very public challenge. He sets the terms of engagement for a high stakes tug of war. The conditions are absolute. If the rat wins, the bullying ends forever. But notice what's happening here. The fox isn't challenging the cat to a brawl. He's shifting the battlefield entirely to a very specific geometric game. Why are you so proud of your strength? Real power is not in muscles alone. By asking this super provocative question, the fox brilliantly weaponizes the cat's own arrogance against him. He essentially forces the cat into a game where the cat naturally assumes his muscles are a guaranteed win. And just like that, the trap of ego is officially set. Which brings us to section 3, mechanics of the trap. Let's pause for a second to break down the clinical, strategic geometry of this setup, because this is really the core of our whole analysis. We have the cat mapped out as vector 1, exerting uncalibrated force against what he thinks is his opponent. But he's focusing entirely on a psychological decoy, the rat. He's completely unaware that his rope is secretly attached behind the scenes to a fixed, true anchor. In this case, a massive, deeply rooted tree. The fox pulled this off with 3 incredibly precise steps. Step 1.
weaponize the cat's pride to ensure he wouldn't bother checking his surroundings. Step 2. Set the tiny rat right in front of him as the psychological decoy to draw all his focus. And step 3. Secretly use the tree as the true immovable anchor. By redirecting the opponent's momentum straight into an immovable object, the fox completely, 100% negates the cat's physical advantage. So, with this intricate trap set, the geometry totally locked in, and the cat completely blinded by his own superiority complex, the fox triggers the climax with a single word, unleashing all of that kinetic energy. Pull. The kinetic energy is unleashed. The cat pulls harder and harder, literally digging his claws into the earth, foolishly fighting not against the little rat he wanted to crush, but against the sheer friction and mass of the forest itself. His massive physical capital is entirely absorbed by an object that simply cannot be moved. All right, let's look at the fallout in section 4, the collapse of ego. This right here is the sudden physical and psychological result of unchecked momentum reaching its absolute breaking point. The anchor suddenly vanishes, the rope gives way, the brute force pulls itself entirely off balance, sending all of that built up kinetic energy flying backwards into a muddy, totally humiliating defeat. I mean, the shock on his face says it all. It's the realization that his entire worldview has just been flipped upside down. So the really crucial point for us to take away here is that this isn't just a physical slip up in the mud. It represents the complete collapse of an ego that relied solely on intimidation rather than strategy. Unchecked momentum is always, eventually, going to pull itself off balance when it is strategy. Unchecked momentum is always, eventually, going to pull itself off balance when it isn't grounded in actual wisdom. But, out of defeat comes profound growth. The shock of the trap gives way to some genuine humility. Sitting there, bathed in the warm light of sunset, the cat is forced to just let go of his pride. He realizes that strength without kindness is fundamentally a weakness. It isolated him and made him incredibly vulnerable to strategy. And that takes us to our final part, Section 5, the True Strength Paradigm. So what does this all mean? What is the ultimate real-world takeaway we can extract from this woodland strategy masterclass? Well, we basically have to completely redefine our understanding of power. We need to see that true strength is actually a multifaceted synthesis. It's this perfect blend of capability, strategy, and compassion, which is vastly superior to the archaic reliance on brute force alone. Think of it like an equation. Muscle plus pride simply equals vulnerability and isolation. And honestly, that is a losing formula every single time. However, kindness plus teamwork plus wisdom, that guarantees true strength. It's just a much more robust and sustainable foundation for long-term success. To quickly summarize the huge strategic shift we've explored today, the cat possessed vast physical power, but completely lacked leverage. The rat lacked physical power, but possessed an incredible community. Ultimately, the isolated power of the giant was easily neutralized by the community and the tactical wisdom of the underdog. It really proves that even the absolute smallest ally can achieve a massive victory when they combine their unique social capital with strategic teamwork. The fox and the rat, they didn't need to go lift weights to win. They just needed to understand the mechanics of their environment better than their opponent did. I'm going to leave you with this final thought to ponder as we wrap up this explainer. Where in your own life are you relying on uncalibrated brute force instead of building leverage? Are you stubbornly playing the game as the muscle ready to slip into the mud, or are you mastering the quiet, unstoppable mechanics of true leverage? Thanks for joining me today, and I'll see you next time.